All right, welcome to the webinar for the MLT MLS programs here at Brookline College. And hopefully we'll get a couple more people to join us, but in the meantime, does anybody have any questions that they want to throw into the chat? Nothing yet? All right, so we'll go ahead and get going with the presentation. And just so you know, this is being recorded. All right, so again, we're going to be talking about the MLT and MLS programs. MLT is Medical Lab Technician. Medical Lab Scientist is the MLS. So the MLT is the associate's degree. The MLS is the bachelor's degree. So 2-year degree versus the 4-year degree. And we offer both of these here at Brookline College. So one of the great things, and some of you might have heard this already, as we're going through and talking about this, if you've already done a phone interview with me, is the fact that the jobs aren't set for one job for one education, at least not in this kind of field. You end up having a lot of different things that you're able to get into. You're able to go into sorry, just needed to mute a couple people. So you're able to get into hospital labs, clinical labs, reference labs. You can work for doctor's offices. You can work in urgent cares. You can work for lab equipment companies. You can actually be service techs for the lab equipment companies also. You can work outside the human fields. You can end up working in veterinarian fields. You can work in chemical labs. You can work in plasma centers. You can work for pharmaceutical companies. You can work for Department of Natural Resources doing soil testings, environmental labs doing water testings. You can work for industrial labs in their chemistry departments. You can work for state labs. You can work in quality control labs. You can work for a bunch of different things. So it's not necessarily even just strictly in human labs. You can end up working in other labs. So think about this way. We have medical lab technician and scientist. So in medical labs, you're going to end up having potential for jobs. In actual other labs, you have potential for employment also. So that's, like I said, one of the great things about this career is that you end up having that possibility to be able to be working in a lot of different places. And of course, I never thought that I would be teaching when I started this career many years ago, but here I am now. So there are all these different kinds of positions that are available. And so here's some of the different things that you can end up seeing, some of the different labs, some of the different equipment that might end up being used as we're processing through, doing the testings, doing the setups to be able to discover what's going on with the patients. So of course, one of the big things that people want to know is what kind of money will I be able to make? And the Department of Labor and Statistics put this out in 2018. They haven't put out a new one yet. I'm expecting it at the end of this year. They'll probably have an update. But the average annual wage for clinical laboratory technologists and technicians, so they put them together, is a little over $52,000 per year. And the overall employment for the clinical laboratory technologists is going to end up going up 11% from 2018 to 2028. And of course, now with everything that's going on with COVID, there's been all the students that are currently working in the lab right now have been put on overtime. All the people that I've been in contact with, seems like everybody's on overtime trying to keep up with all the testings and everything. And that's one of the things why Brookline College is trying to respond to this great need in our community and in the nation, by opening up this summer semester to allow people to get in quicker so we can get you out quicker, because there's a great need under normal circumstances. You can see there's going to be 11% increase in the next 10 years. But there's even a bigger need now because of the crisis that's going on. So we really want you guys to be started now, so that way we can get you out sooner, so that way we can be able to have the labs fully employed, so that way we can end up having those tests being done in a timely manner and not have everybody getting burnt out from all the overtime that they're having to do at this point in time. So some of the things that we are looking for students to be able to be good at the program: they should be organized, they should be analytical, they should like being able to do things hands-on. Team player, when you're out in the field, you're not just in the lab. A lot of times you're going to be working with other departments. You're going to be working with the respiratory therapists. You're going to be working with the radiology department. You're going to be working with the ER and the ICU nurses and doctors. You're going to be needing to be able to be a team player within the lab too. Each lab has different departments that's going to end up needing cooperation with each other. So that's one of the reasons why you need to be able to be a good communicator. One of the great things about this career is that there is lifelong learning. It's not stagnant. There's always something new coming on. And like I just said, COVID-19, definitely something new. So there's all this research that's going in to be able to do the proper testings, to be able to detect whether or not somebody has been infected, whether or not they have immunity now, all these kinds of things that are there. And the idea of the lab, one of my phrases that I use sometimes is the people in the lab are hidden heroes, because most people don't know what we're doing. So we are the heroes because different articles will say up to 70% or more of the laboratory information is used for the medical decisions. So the diagnosis and treatment of patients is mostly based on what we're doing in the lab. So without the lab, the doctors and the nurses aren't going to be able to know what to do with those patients. So we are the hidden heroes. We are the ones that are going to end up being able to help the community and the patients to be able to know what's going on. And of course, one of the big things is that we are scientists, so you need to be interested in science. So this PowerPoint is going to be available to everybody also. We'll have that posted for you to be able to go back and watch these different videos. So I'm not going to have you watch all these with me, but I did want you to be able to watch this one. So let's see whether or not it comes up this way for us. There it goes. All right, so it doesn't look like that's going to work, so I'm going to do a different way of getting you to see it. So hold on a second.
Our next career plays a vital role in the field of medical science. We're in the lab today to meet a medical lab technologist. Hi.
Hi, I'm Jody.
I'm Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let's get lab coat on and get you started.
Great.
My name is Jody Simmons. I'm a medical laboratory technologist, and we're at the Dawson Creek District Hospital lab. Medical laboratory technologist works in the lab. They run patient samples, blood and body fluids. They're tests that are ordered by a doctor, and we run them on instruments, and we make sure that those results are accurate and precise before we release them to the doctors. A typical day would involve coming in and waking up all our instruments, and then we would have to pull quality control material to make sure that our instruments are running correctly. We would be doing any maintenance, like pulling apart the instrument and cleaning it before we would want to run any patient samples.
What is this machine?
We're looking at the inside of a chemistry analyzer. So when someone, for example, comes in the hospital with a heart attack or a suspected heart attack, this is actually one of the instruments we use to see if there's been damage. So you're always learning about new instruments. Your day is always different. Your day is never the same. You might be learning a new instrument, a new technology. In a small lab like this, we are required to draw blood sometimes. So we'll draw the blood and bring it back to the lab. We're looking at tubes, and I'm going to tell what this person's blood type is by using my reagents and these tubes. So if you're an A pos patient, or if your blood type is O, I'll be able to tell from these tests. You're putting drops in tubes, and you're using pipettes and small equipment, and you're doing maintenance. So it's good to be able to work with your hands. It's good to be very organized, so you can organize your workflow and compartmentalize because you have priority specimens as well. You might get pulled from one thing and there's a stat that comes in and it's a lot more, has priority over a routine sample, and you need to stop what you're doing and work on that stat specimen from the emergency, for example. Always double check your work because you do not want to make a mistake. This person's bleeding in the merge and they need blood quickly. You need to work quickly but accurately as well. I don't think people realize how closely we work with other healthcare professionals. We work with nurses and doctors quite a bit. So the centrifuge is slowing down. It has spun the two samples together. So basically my patient's cells have just been spun. But if you look here, this is my tube. That there is a blood clot. That's a agglutination of a patient's cells.
So because the blood clumped together within this solution, you know that this is what type of blood?
This is an A person.
Okay.
Because I put A reagent in and the blood clumped, we have an A person. We work shift work, so we have day shifts. Our day shifts start at 7:30 to 4, and then we have a person coming in at 2:30 till 11 o'clock at night, and they're our evening shift, so they're on call all night until the next morning. I was interested in chemistry and biology in high school, and then I went on to get a university degree in biochemistry. There is a degree you can get for medical laboratory technologists, but I have a certification and it's a diploma, so it's a 2.5-year program. The advantage of having a degree over the diploma is you do get paid extra, and you can also take a management position a little easier than that. But the diploma, everybody is certified. You take a certification exam, and everybody is considered certified, and you can work anywhere in Canada. There's always opportunities to further advance your education. You could specialize in another department like microbiology. Also, the CSMLS, which is our certifying body, offers courses online that you can take and further advance. My advice for somebody straight out of school would be to go and do a lab tour, talk to somebody that works in a lab. A good medical laboratory technologist pays attention to detail. They're considerate to others. They really do care about the well-being of people. Even though you're not in the forefront and people don't always see you, it's nice to know that you're having an impact on somebody's life.
Jody, thank you so much for showing me around.
Nice meeting you. Don't forget to wash your hands.
You got it. Thanks.
Bye.
Once again, I'm Brian for Career Track, reminding you that this career could be yours. See you next time.
Okay, so looking at the, excuse me, the MLT program, it is an associate science degree and it can be completed in 4 semesters. We are NACLS accredited, which means that you can sit for the certification exam, which is not a requirement for the, it's not a requirement for the, for working in Arizona. It's not a requirement in Arizona itself, but there's going to be a lot of jobs that are asking for that in the career path. I'm sorry, there's a phone call that's coming through that I'm there. So it like I said, it's not needed in Arizona, but it is a requirement that it might be in some other states. So if you decide to go to a different state, it's good to be able to have that certification exam. And also in Arizona, there are a lot of different places that have that as a preference. So in order to be able to get that job that they're asking for, if you don't have the certification exam, you're not going to be able to get that job because they have it as a preference. So because we are NACLS accredited, you can sit for the board of registry exam and take that exam. So in the curriculum, you're going to end up having general education. You'll learn about hematology, microbiology, chemistry, immunology, and blood banking, and then you'll be off on your externship. And I'll talk about those different departments in just a little bit. For the MLS, that is a bachelor's degree, is a Bachelor of Science degree, and this is another 4 semesters on top of the first 4 semesters that you would take as an MLT. This is also NACLS accredited. It is an accelerated program, and we are going to have, again, the MLT curriculum along with biochemistry, organic chemistry, some general education courses, and then you'll have advanced classes in the microbiology, chemistry, hematology, and blood bank. And then you'll also have an externship for the medical lab scientist program. So as promised, we'll talk a little bit about the different departments. So hematology, you'll learn about the different blood cells and what they're used for. You can see on here, there's pictures of the different white blood cells. So up in this corner here, these are monocytes, these are lymphocytes, these are, this is basophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and neutrophils. And down here, this is what a stained smear looks like, a blood smear that we look at on the microscope. So here's a banded neutrophil, a regular neutrophil, a basophil, monocyte, lymphocyte. These things, these little purple things with the little center, those are red blood cells, are also known as erythrocytes. And then these little things are platelets. That's what helps your blood to be able to clot. So that's one of the tests that we look at when we are in hematology, is doing what's known as a complete blood count. We're going to look at the different cells and differentiate the different types of cells and look at if there's any kind of differences on the white blood cells and the red blood cells. So, so that is part of what's known as a complete blood count. We'll do hemoglobins, hematocrits, we'll do platelet counts, white blood cell counts, red blood cell counts, and then also do that differential to be able to see whether or not there's a difference. So like in the neutrophils, these cells right here, these are important for bacterial infections. The lymphocytes, those will actually be increased during viral infections. So if somebody ends up having a viral infection like COVID or a cold or flu, they would end up having an increase in those lymphocytes. In microbiology, you'll be learning about the different plates that we use, the different agar plates that we use to grow up the different organisms to be able to identify them. And microbiology is really cool. You end up doing a lot of detective work. And what I mean by that is that you do step by step. You're looking at different things that are going on in the reactions that you're seeing from the bacteria. So if somebody gets a wound sample and we set it up on these different agar plates, then the next day we look at them to see what kind of reactions we have. We set up more plates and do more testings, and from all these clues we figure out what kind of bacteria is causing this infection, and then we also figure out what kind of antibiotics are going to work best against those. So that way the doctor has a better idea on what she or he's going to end up prescribing for that patient to be able to treat that infection. So again, in microbiology, you're going to be doing different kinds of testings. Bacterial infections, probably one of the most common bacterial infections that we'll be dealing with is urinary tract infections, but you can also do respiratory infections like pneumonia or COVID-19 infections. We can do testings for that. Another department is chemistry. Chemistry and urinalysis sometimes are put together because a lot of labs have gone to what's known as a core philosophy. They incorporate different departments together so that way there's a better workflow. So chemistry and urinalysis in a lot of labs are put together. Chemistry, you're going to be doing testings on the blood samples, usually the serum or plasma. Serum is the liquid portion of blood that's been clotted in the tube and spun down and looked at. The plasma is the liquid portion of anticoagulated blood, so a different tube that's spun down, and then we take the plasma, the liquid portion off of that, and do testing. So different tests will require different kinds of samples, and that's why we need to be able to know that process also. So in chemistry, we're going to do different tests like testing for glucose, cholesterol, doing heart enzyme testings, checking for kidney function, liver function, all those kinds of things. And then urinalysis, obviously one of the big things in urinalysis is check for kidney function and whether or not there's problems with the bladder. But it also checks for metabolic problems, so to check to see whether or not somebody's diabetic or has problems with the liver also. So like I said, in urinalysis, we do check for the kidney and metabolic diseases like diabetes mellitus and liver disease. But one of the nice things about urinalysis is, for the most part, is a non-invasive test. You give the patient a cup and tell them to go over to the restroom, collect a sample, get it back. It's a non-invasive test, so they don't have to worry about a needle being poked into them to be able to do it. So it's a very common routine test that's done to be able to do a lot of testings in the emergency department for patients when they're first coming in. So remember I said about heart and liver and things. The troponin is actually one of the newer tests that we do in the lab. It's been out for probably at least 10 years now, if not a little bit longer. But it's considered the appropriate marker to use to be able to find out whether or not somebody's had a heart attack. There are other tests that we can do also, but the troponin level is one of the better tests to be able to identify whether or not there's current heart damage and whether or not it's a recent heart attack that the person might have been involved with. So that brings us to blood bank. And the blood bank, if you look up here, these are the blood bags that the donors will donate, and most of the blood that we hand out for transfusions is going to be what's known as packed red blood cells. There is a great need for donors, especially now with everything that's going on. But in the Arizona itself, there needs to be 600 donations each day just to keep up with the demand in Arizona, and that's under normal circumstances. So that's why you're always getting or seeing these advertisements on the radio and on TV or on billboards, or maybe even getting phone calls asking for people to donate, because there is such a great need for it. But on our side of it, on the lab side of it, we're doing the testings. Once the blood's been brought in after the donors have been collected, we're going to do testings on them to make sure that the blood is safe to give to the person that needs the blood, but also to be able to figure out what their blood type is, both the donor and the recipient, to be able to do the testings. And that's what these little vials are, and what this little card is used for, is to be able to figure out if somebody is A positive, A negative, O positive, O negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative. Those are the 8 main blood types. And that's what you're going to learn in blood bank when you're doing your testings here in the lab, how to do that, how to set it up, how to be able to figure out what can be done to be able to help save the person's life. And in all the labs, it's very important to make sure that you're labeling your tubes, following the directions, doing everything that you're supposed to. But it's especially true in blood bank, because if you do something wrong in blood bank, there is even greater potential of causing harm to the patient. If you gave the wrong blood type to the patient, not only could you end up damaging them, it could end up actually killing them. And so that's why we stress in all of our labs, not only blood bank, that we need to make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, pay attention to everything that you're supposed to. But especially in blood bank, you need to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to. Otherwise, you have that potential of causing harm instead of helping the patient. So, as I said before, we recognize the need at Brookline College to be able to get more lab people into the field. And we also want to make sure that you're being safe and everybody here on campus is being safe. So we're monitoring everything, making sure that everything is being done like it's supposed to, so that way you can be as safe as possible through your education. And so we're going to have that balance between the caution that we need to have to make sure everybody's safe, but also make sure that everybody is going to be in a panic. We want to make sure that we're able to do your education and get everybody out there like we're supposed to. So our lectures are going to be online, and we're going to be doing virtual labs and also assignments for our laboratory sections. But moving forward in August, after you are here in the June semester, in August, there's going to be times that you're going to be on campus also. But we are also going to end up doing things to make sure that we're doing our social distancing and practicing all the precautions that we're supposed to. So again, you're going to be able to do this. Right here in my background, I'm in Lab 150. This is one of the labs that we have here at Brookline College. We do urinalysis, chemistry, and blood bank in this lab. Lab 148, which is right next door, that's where we do our microbiology and hematology. So when you click on this link, you're going to be seeing some students working on the labs in the different labs, Lab 150 and 140, 148, doing the different testings that we do. And so Andy is here to talk to you also. If you don't have any questions for me, Andy will field any questions about setting up tours and also contact and things like that. So I'll step aside so that way Andy will be available to talk to you guys, right? But I'll quick put on my mask so that way I'm being safe. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you showing up.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Andy Beruman. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Brookline College. So I wanted to follow up and kind of see if I can answer any questions here maybe, and of course, get you set up to speak to someone here too. Roger, the chats? Oh, right here.
Yep.
Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay, so does anyone have any basic questions for the admissions? Just go ahead and type them into the chat if you do. And what we are doing right now too is we are setting up one-on-ones with individual reps. If you do email Nicole, as you can see the information on there too, then you'll be able to get that set up here right away. Now, one thing we do is accept transfer credits, and part of that process will be to evaluate those for you. So when you do speak to someone, they will be going over that with you to discuss that with you. So make sure you let them know that you possibly have some transfer credits there too. Yeah. So again, I'm sure Roger kind of went over the program, how it's going to be set up with the hybrid modality and everything like that. So again, your admissions, we can definitely go over that too with you and make sure we get clear explanation for you, because it's all going to determine what classes transfer in for you too. It all determines the cost. So we also have you speak with financial aid here too. Now our next start coming up will be June 22nd here, and there's still time to get in for that class there. All right, is there any other questions out there? Now I do want to point out too that there is a tuition discount going on right now. We do have a discount because the demand is in such big demand for this program. We're trying to get those students a little help to get out there sooner than later. So there is a 20% discount on the tuition here. Again, when you do speak with financial aid, they will go over exactly what those numbers look like for you, so that way you can see exactly what those look like there. Okay. All right. Is there any other questions out there? Again, make sure you reach out to Nicole, and she can help you set up that appointment there. Her contact information is right there on top. Please chat with me if you can not see that right there, so I can make sure to get you the information. But we will be reaching out to you too, so we can get that all set up for you to speak to an admissions representative here. Is there any other questions out there? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I don't see any other questions there. I'm definitely hope to get a chance to speak with you. Again, just email Nicole. We'll get you set up here for a phone call here to go over more details on the program, get you set up to speak with Roger here too. All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and say bye to everybody there. We appreciate you joining us here. We're excited to have you here on the campus here. Of course, Roger's back here too. All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic day. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Hope to talk to you soon.